You don't even notice it. But every time you explode, every time you snap, you're giving away your power, not to someone stronger, not to someone wiser, but to someone who just knows how to push the right button. A small comment, a disrespectful look, a delayed reply, and there you go. Again, angry, unbalanced, regretful. You tell yourself it's justified. You convince yourself it's their fault. But deep down, you know what you've lost. Because real power doesn't scream, it doesn't flinch, it doesn't react. It absorbs, it waits, and when necessary, it chooses how to strike. You will learn how the Stoics built that power, how they stayed calm when others lost themselves, how they turned provocation into clarity, and how you can too, but only if you're ready. To stop bleeding energy and start owning yourself. Enough noise, let's enter the silence. It's not the insult, it's not the words. It's what they hit deep inside you, that one place you haven't looked at in years, that wound you pretend isn't there, that version of yourself you keep trying to outrun. It doesn't take much. A casual smirk, a comment disguised as a joke, a silence that lasts a second too long, and suddenly you feel it. Your chest tightens. Your breathing changes. Your voice starts rising, even though part of you is begging to stay quiet. You're not reacting to them. You're reacting to you, to the version of yourself that still needs to be defended, to the image you're desperate to protect. They didn't take your power. You gave it to them by being predictable, by making your pain visible, by flinching the first time they touched that nerve. That's the button, and they didn't install it. You did, piece by piece, memory by memory, reaction by reaction. Now it sits on your chest, exposed, and everyone knows exactly where it is. Some press it without knowing. Others press it with precision, but the result is always the same. You lose control. You lose peace. You lose yourself. The Stoics didn't try to remove the button. They made it irrelevant. They trained themselves to expect the pain, to prepare for it like a soldier before battle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The closer a man is to calm, the more powerful he becomes. That calm is built deliberately, through discomfort, through silence, through choosing not to act when every cell in your body wants to. You want power? Then let the next insult come and say nothing. Feel everything but move nothing. That's how you take the button back. Because if they can still make you react, they still own a part of you. And that part needs to come home." There's a moment right after the insult, the betrayal, the silence that cuts deeper than a scream. And in that moment, you want to control everything. You want to make them understand, make them regret, make the world behave the way you need it to. But the world doesn't care about your need for fairness. It doesn't pause to match your expectations. It moves on its own terms. This is where most men suffer. They spend their energy trying to manage the unmanageable. What they said, what they did, what they should have done differently. You replay it, rethink it, argue with it in your head for hours, days, weeks. But the Stoics, they had one simple rule. Focus only on what's within your control. Not because it's easier, but because it's the only battlefield that's real. Other people's words? Not in your control. Their tone, their choices, their silence, all outside your reach. But your response, that's your domain, that's your fortress. Epictetus was born a slave. He couldn't control his freedom. He couldn't control how others treated him. But he mastered the one thing no one could touch, his response. That's what made him unbreakable. You see, control isn't about domination, it's about clarity. It's the quiet power of choosing where to place your energy. Every time you react to something you can't change, you abandon yourself. You leave your post. And now you're fighting a war on someone else's terms. The moment you realize that, you begin to reclaim your life. Let them say what they want. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk behind your back. You don't have to follow their chaos. You don't have to answer every attack. You don't have to clean the dirt they throw. Because if your peace depends on them being different, you've already lost. Real strength is quiet. It doesn't argue. It doesn't chase validation. It doesn't beg to be understood. It simply watches, chooses, responds only when it's worth it. From now on, ask yourself this one question. Is this within my control? If yes, act with discipline. If no, release it without hesitation. That one filter alone will save you from 1,000 storms you were never meant to enter. The world is loud, unfair, messy, but you can be still, not because everything is calm, but because you are. You wake up hoping for peace. You check your phone, hoping for good news. You walk into your day, hoping people will be kind. You live, hoping. But the Stoics didn't hope. They prepared. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, today, I will meet people who are arrogant, rude, selfish, not because he was negative, but because he was ready, because what breaks a man is not the blow. It's being surprised by it. You weren't expecting them to ignore you. You weren't expecting the disrespect. You weren't ready for the silence, the sarcasm, the betrayal, and so you collapse. Not because you're weak, but because you assumed the world would be gentle. It won't be. Life will come for your ego, your pride, your peace. You can either keep flinching every time it hits, or you can train for the hit. This is what the Stoics called negative visualization. You sit quietly, you close your eyes, and you picture the pain before it arrives. What if they mock you today? What if you're overlooked again? What if someone you trust disrespects you openly? Feel the sting now before it lands. Let your body go through the wave. Not to suffer, but to sharpen. This is mental armor, because when it finally happens, you've already lived it. And you're not surprised. You're not emotional. You're calm. That's how Roman generals prepared for battle. They didn't pray for a smooth war. They rehearsed the worst-case scenario until it became ordinary, and so should you. Don't wait to be hit. Train your nervous system now. Visualize the insult. Visualize the failure. Visualize the moment you're most afraid of and breathe into it. No reaction, no defense, just presence. Because every time you survive it in your mind, you weaken its Power in real life. The world is coming. People will try you. Your patience, your pride, your control, all will be tested. But if you've already bled in rehearsal, you won't bleed in the fight. Prepare now. So when the moment comes, you won't collapse, you'll remain still. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you already knew it would. Most people think power looks like shouting, raising your voice, defending your name, proving a point. But real power doesn't need to explain itself. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't even need to be seen. It just is. And that's why indifference is so powerful. Because it tells the world you no longer have access to my inner world. Indifference is not weakness. It's not apathy. It's not running away. It's choosing to stand in stillness while everything around you tries to shake you. Imagine this. Someone insults you in public. They want a reaction. They want your face to change, your hands to tighten, your tone to rise, but instead, you breathe, you pause, and you let their words fall to the ground. That silence, that non-response, it's louder than anything you could have said. It's devastating because it shows them they don't control you, and that for people addicted to power is unbearable. It's like throwing fire at a wall of stone. The flame only burns themselves. The Stoics didn't fight noise with more noise. They dissolved it in stillness. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But what if you didn't react at all? What if you let the world scream and you just listened? You'd begin to notice something. The noise loses power when it meets a man who won't dance with it. That's why indifference is not detachment, it's discipline. It's the choice to protect your energy, to reserve your force for things that actually matter. Because every time you react to something beneath you, you shrink to its level. You become smaller, louder, weaker. But the man who can remain calm, who can absorb chaos without echoing it, he becomes something rare, unreachable, mysterious, unshakable. So next time they try to provoke you, don't respond. Smile if you can, walk away if you must, but do not give them what they're hunting. Even because silence is a weapon, and in the hands of a disciplined man, it cuts deeper than words ever could. You don't become unshakable by accident. You don't just wake up one day immune to disrespect, to betrayal, to the chaos of the world. Strength of mind is not a gift. It's not a personality trait. It's a discipline, a system you build, brick by brick in silence when no one's watching. The Stoics weren't philosophers in towers. They were soldiers, emperors, slaves. They faced storms you couldn't imagine, and yet they stayed steady. Why? Because they trained every single day. Marcus Aurelius wrote in a battlefield tent. Epictetus taught as a crippled ex-slave. Seneca reflected in the political chaos of Rome. They didn't wait for peace to be wise. They built peace where there was none. And you want to master your reactions? Start here, journaling. Write every night. What tested you today? When did you flinch? Where did you bleed? Expose it on paper so it doesn't hide inside you. Reflection. Ask yourself not once a week but daily, where did I give away my power today? And more importantly, how will I protect it tomorrow? Meditation, not to empty the mind, but to observe it, to see your impulses before they act, to slow down the trigger before it fires, because the enemy isn't the insult. It's the speed at which you react to it. Train the pause, make stillness your reflex, because if you wait until the world is loud to find your calm, you're already too late. You train now in the quiet, in the morning stillness, in the discomfort of facing your own patterns. That's the forge. That's where real men are built, not in battle, but before it. Every reaction you master is a brick. Every trigger you dismantle is armor. Every day you choose discipline over distraction is another inch of unshakable ground beneath your feet. So if you're tired of being at the mercy of your emotions, then stop waiting to feel strong. Start practicing, because the mind, just like the body, only grows when tested. And if you train it daily, truly, consistently, brutally, one day soon, nothing will move you. This is not about becoming untouchable overnight. It's about noticing each time you choose silence over chaos, presence over impulse, clarity over reaction. That's how power is reclaimed, not in grand gestures, but in quiet refusals. Refusing to be baited, refusing to defend what doesn't need defending, refusing to let others dictate the weather inside you. This isn't passive, it's not weakness. It's the highest form of control a man can reach. Because when nothing disturbs your peace, not words, not looks, not storms, you've stopped reacting and started leading. You don't need more noise, you need reminders of what you already know, of what you keep forgetting when the world pushes you too far. That's what this place is. A return to clarity, to control, to yourself. Subscribe if you're ready for that, not for entertainment, but for structure, for discipline, for a quiet kind of strength. We're building it, one principle at a time. You're welcome here. If you're ready to listen,